Hi guys, my name is Victoria and I am not a YouTuber. I just wanted to make a video regarding the ATITs and how I got a 90.7. If I knew graphics, I'd put right here 90.7 on the ATITs exam, what contributed to it, and what classes I have under my belt that I think helped me too. So to start off, what classes do I have under my belt that definitely contributed to my score? My microbiome plus the lab, anatomy and physio 1, anatomy and physio 2 plus the labs, and chemistry plus the lab, because there were 1 or 2 questions on the science section that were chemistry, and it's always better to just have those and know them and have it under your belt, so that those are 2 questions that you get right, because that, like, literally any question that you get right makes your score go up. So it's worth it to know that and have that class under your belt. So I want to start with the reading section. So reading section on the exam, national average is a 72.4. What did I score? 91.5. There were 47 questions and I got 4 wrong. How do I think I got that score on the reading section? Carolyn Mcallister. Carolyn Mcallister. She is the reason that I did well on the English and the reading. She will break down what's an expository passage, what is a narrative passage, what's a persuasive passage, where do you find it, what's a primary source. I took one night and watched like 13 of her videos. Took me like, I don't know, 2-3 hours, and at the end of that, she knows a lot about the actual TEAS exam too, like the kinds of questions that they ask and the formatting of them. So she definitely helped contribute to that, as well as, huge tip, as well as the practice tests in any book that you get. Take as many practice tests as you can. It will only help you. Any you can find on the internet, in a book, take them. So what book, now get into that. What book did I buy for this test? Mometrics, ATITs, Secrets. Recommended to me by my academic advisor, and he was right. It was a great book. I really used it for the practice exams, for the math, and for the science sections. How did I learn from this book? So I'm a very visual learner. Yes, science interests me, as I'm sure it must interest you guys too, because you guys are going to go into nursing, but I basically took notes on the science section on my own, and I would read it like this. The cell is the basic organizational unit of all living things. Like if it's a story, like if you're talking to a 5-year-old, because if it sounds like a story, you're gonna remember it because you remember stories. And if you read it like, the cell is the basic organizational unit of all living things, each piece within a cell is a function, you're not gonna learn it, or you're gonna have to read it 6 times for it to actually stick. You gotta read it like you're reading to a 5-year-old. Like you have a kindergarten class in front of you and you have to keep their attention every single second. That's how you have to read to yourself. And I would sound like an idiot, but I would read it and I'd be like, I get it, because it sounded like a story and I remember that. So basically I did my science like that. What else did I buy from Mometrics? Their flashcards. Again, I am an interactive learner, so just the act of having these to flip and put them in my piles. If I don't know it, I kind of know it, and I do know it, help me out. They're not your basic flashcards. It's not going to be 1-word answers. There are going to be long answers. But again, read them like a story. That is a huge help for me. Like, the cardiac cycle consists of the diastole and systole phases, which can be further divided into the first and second phase. That's how you got to read to yourself, because that's how you're going to remember it. I really only use these flashcards for the science section. It also brought reading and math and English ones, but for me, those are things that I cannot learn with flashcards. Those are things that I have to learn by trial and error. But science, you can learn with flashcards, so I definitely recommend, like, honestly, which helped me more? These, from the same company. These flashcards are literally this book on flashcards, but for my kind of visual interactive learning self, the flashcards helped a lot. So we're going to talk about, yeah, we're already on science. So national average for science was a 57.2. What did I get? An 83%, 47 questions, and I got 8 wrong. So some specifics that I think you should know for the science. portion of the exam, know the endocrine system, know the digestive system, know the cardiovascular system. How does the blood flow through the heart? When is it deoxygenated? When is it oxygenated? How does that occur? Pituitary gland, anterior and posterior. What hormones are secreted and what do they do? What are their functions? The connection between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. And if it sounds like I'm like speaking gibberish, no worries. Go on Science with Susanna. Her YouTube channel is great, super informative. Helps me, again, a visual learner, because she uses colored pencils, which are super underrated. I bought like 8 for $1 at the dollar store, which they probably won't last me a year, but they lasted me the few weeks that I needed them to study. But color coordinating things while you're studying helps you remember, definitely. So again, Science with Susanna, she was awesome. So yeah, what I said, endocrine, digestive, hormones secreted by the pancreas. The pancreas is big, the liver is big. The liver does a ton of things. Like, what doesn't the liver do is literally the joke that I had with myself as I was studying. Yeah, so know your hormones, the aldosterone, the renin, what does it do, angiotensin, things like that. Science with Susanna. If you're like, what is she saying? Science with Susanna. Watch her. She'll break down every single organ system, draw it out for you with colorful arrows and all of that stuff. Now let's get to the math section. National average 68.6, my score 96.9, 32 questions, I got 1 wrong. What is my advice for the math section? Oh, another class you should have under your belt, as many maths as possible. I have a lot of maths under my belt because I actually have a business degree, which makes you take like every math under the sun. But the test doesn't really get any more difficult than basic stats. Know how to get a word problem, make it an equation, and solve. Logically understand percent to fraction and fraction to percent, percent to decimal, decimal to percent, all those things. And logically understand what those things mean. Like, understand like that percent of a whole and like how to get that number. What else? If you want to throw in, because I think I did get one, I did, like perimeter of a field that you're going to throw a fence on, like sides A and D are 3 times the size plus 10 of sides B and C. How to make that into an equation and how to solve for that. And if you logically understand that, you're not just memorizing, you know, you're logically understanding like, okay, so there's a rectangle. These sides are 3 times the size of these, like, you will do fine on the math. If you want to learn the like circumference formula for, or like volume of a cylinder, because that did come up on my practice exams a lot, then do that. What else for the math? Understand graphs. Know how to read your linear graphs, your bar graphs. They're going to be using percentages, so you've got to convert them into whole numbers. Like, they're going to give you like a whole, like there's 174 people, 20% of them have red hair. Of the 20%, 5% of them are short. So what percent have red hair that are short? Know those things. What else for the math section? Look up YouTube videos. If you're not great in math, which, do not tell yourself that, because the brain is really powerful. Tell yourself, I will understand math, I do get it. I just need to get that basic foundation, that like aha moment, and I will get it. Watch YouTube videos. It's not easy, but you can get it. If I can get it, you can get it, trust me. I'm not the kind of student that is a slave for school. I'm not. I just, I use the motivation of, which you can too, I don't want to be the nurse that doesn't know anything. I don't want to be the nurse that's like this when the doctor's talking to them. I want to know what they're talking about. I want to be able to respond in a way that makes sense. I want to be above average. I don't want to fit in, because if you just fit in, you might not get into school, and then if you don't get into school, you gotta reroute your life and do something else. And no, you want to be one of the best nurses. You want to know what the doctors are talking about. You want to be able to talk to your nurse friends on the field and be able to use the correct terminology and not use like knee instead of like patellar region, things like that, because you will stand out and you will be above average. And what else for science? For math, sorry. Yeah, so for math, that's basically it. That's what I would advise that you know really well to do well on the math section. So for science, I talked about it, and for the English language section, national average 66.3, my score 87.5, 24 questions, I got 3 wrong. How did I get that score? Carolyn Mcallister. I am not great with grammar. English and grammar were not my forte in high school and middle school, were not. I can use it in like everyday life, like in emails, short commas, get them, kind of get them. Once I watched Carolyn Mcallister for one night, I was like, I understand English and grammar. I understand English. Like, I get semicolons, subject verb agreements, that will be there. So verb agreements, because it's gonna come up on every single one of your practice tests. Gerunds, why you have to separate independent clauses, where to throw commas in, where to throw semicolons in. She will teach you, but she speaks really slow, so just double up the speed of her videos, take your notes, and you will fall under the umbrella of people who just get English. Trust me, because I was never that person, and now I feel like I fall into that category because of Carolyn Mcallister. I will write her name in the description below. What else? So yeah, that basically kind of sums up things that I would advise for you to learn. I really hope that this can contribute to your score too, because the videos that I watched helped me focus on specifics that definitely contributed to my score. Another thing for the science section, know the sort of prefixes that relate to certain regions, like how a lot of the muscles in the back will have the word dorsal in it, because that will help you a lot. In case you get a question that has to do with like what muscle is, I don't know, on the back of your shoulder. If you see dorsal, you're gonna be like, it might be that one. So that's another reason to like do really well in your anatomy and physio classes and just really understand them and not memorize. Look up animated videos, especially for the organ systems of the body. Those help a lot when you actually can like see the blood going through like the atrium through the tricuspid valve to the ventricle, to the pulmonary valve, through the aorta. You know, it's like that's what's gonna make it stick. Like seeing it and seeing the blood flowing through there, that's going to make it stick. Yeah, so basically, what products did I use? The flashcards, they were great. Make your studying interactive, make it a game. How long should you study? I've heard people say that you need to study for like 2 months, people say 1 month. I genuinely studied for like 3 weeks, is like when I really got going. Why do I feel like I studied a shorter amount of time? Because I had watched so many videos like this that narrowed, you know, if I was reading on a subject that nobody ever mentioned was on these exams, I wouldn't really focus on that much. I would focus on the ones that everyone said were on it. So yeah, and then when it comes to like the reading and English, I left that kind of for last. I really focused on the science because it's so much information. Know your hormones and what they do. Yeah, so that is my advice on how I got a 90.7 on the ATITs. I really hope that this helps someone else and contributes to someone else's score. Thank you.